Hello, folks. This is your host, Tammy Tuckey, and you are now listening to the Tiara Talk Show. We bring you rare interviews with the makers of Disney magic. Whether they be singers, actors, Imagineers, animators, they have all made their mark on the Disney name. Be sure to check out the show notes, other episodes, contests, our social media pages from Facebook to Twitter, and more on our official website at www.thetiaratalkshow.com. All guest opinions are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the opinions of the Tiara Talk Show or the host. The Tiara Talk Show is not associated with the Disney Company. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode. And from all of us here at the Tiara Talk Show, have a hoop-de-doo day. I'm excited to welcome this week's Tiara Talk Show guest, author Serena Valentino, to the show. Welcome, Serena.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You know, I think a lot of people nowadays, they're really loving the backstory behind other Disney characters, especially the villains. So what gave you the idea for going behind the scenes and why they became the way they were and why they acted the way they did?
Well, how I got the idea, you asked. I was writing a comic book series called Nightmares and Fairy Tales, and one of the editors over at Disney contacted me, and he said that, he was familiar with my other work, and he wondered if I'd be interested in telling any of this, a story with a Disney character, and he asked, which character I'd be interested in. And I was like, well, the villains, that would be a dream for me. So we sat and we talked about it for a while, deciding, because I have this list of all the villains that I want to tell stories about. And we decided the first one should be about the Wicked Queen from Snow White. So it was a cool experience. I mean, I hadn't written a novel before. I had only done comic books, and I was a little trepidatious about it, because I hadn't, really tackled that yet. But my editor over at Disney is just so supportive and amazing. He's like, I can tell that you're going to be able to do this. So, just sit down and do it exactly the way that you would want to, and let's see what happens. And, I had no sort of concept about where this was going to go at the time when I wrote the first book. I thought, okay, well, I'm going to write this book about the Wicked Queen, and we'll see what happens. And it was great. It was really well received, and Disney asked me to write more, and now we're doing a series. So it's an exciting experience.
I'm really thrilled for you. I have to ask about the collaboration because, sometimes Disney has certain things in the canon. How was the collaboration working with Disney to decide on certain things? Or did they just say, you know what, we trust you, we're going to give you the full reins and give us whatever you think would be an interesting backstory to these characters?
It's really interesting because I think I was a little bit more afraid of stepping out of the Disney bounds than Disney was, because it's intimidating, when you're taking on characters that have such a huge canon. And my editor kept reassuring me, we hired you for a reason. We love the way that you tell a story. We love that your stories are darker, that your take on fairy tales is a lot more like the original tales, like the original Grimm's fairy tales. And we want that in your story. We want you to write it the way that you want to. And I absolutely have all the freedom that I could ever wish for. The only boundaries that I have is that when I'm writing about the scenes that happen directly from the film, they have to go along with what happens in the film. So I couldn't say change like something that happened on screen, if that makes sense. That's like really the only real rule that we have when writing these books. Each time that I start the process, I spend a lot of time thinking about the character. I mean, if you think about it, like let's say the Wicked Queen, for example, she's not a very developed character, really. I mean, the villains in general aren't very developed in the stories, so there is a lot of space to build upon with them. And so my question that I ask myself each time I go into one of these books is why? And that's what people want to know in general when someone is bad, if someone has done a terrible deed, like in real life. The first thing they ask themselves is why? Why did they do that? Why did this happen? So I come from a theater background. And so what I like to do is I just sort of like to become the character, think about her or him, and really immerse myself and figure out why. Like, why did the Wicked Queen want to kill her daughter? I mean, that's a huge question. And so it all builds from there. And then once we get to the scenes that are already like within the context of the film, all of those things just flow because you're already that character, already sort of channeling her feelings and her desires and her thoughts. And those scenes aren't a block, they just flow with the rest of the story.
And now we have Ursula. Ursula is such a big character in the Disney canon. We see her everywhere in the games, online. She has this drive. She is a female character who has a drive to get something. But I haven't gotten a chance to read it myself. But could you give us a brief synopsis, for those who are looking to go ahead and purchase the book, but want to know a little bit about it before they get to physically read it?
That's always hard for me. It's always hard for me to describe my work. I know that's something I need to learn how to do properly, but without spoilers. But really, this book is about, if Fairest of All was about the dangers of what grief can do to someone, because that's what really ultimately destroyed the Wicked Queen, was her grief. And if cruelty could, turn someone into a beast, and that's really what The Beast Within was about, this book would be a cautionary tale about making somebody hide who they truly are. And I thought it was important to tell a story about the dangers of not letting someone be who they are, making them feel loathsome for who their true inside self is. It's about her relationship with her family. It's about her relationship with herself. It's about betrayal and tremendous loss, but it's also about friendships too. I wish that I could say more because I don't want to spoil it, but you'll learn some of the back history between Ursula and King Triton, a bit about her interactions with Ariel, though the book doesn't really focus under the sea, which I think is surprising for some of the readers. It's more about her personal background when she was a lot younger, how she learned who she really was, and how her family reacted to her true nature. And it's a really powerful story, I think, because I think there's a lot of people out there who feel like they have to hide who they are. And I think that when people are forced to hide who they are, sometimes anger and resentment can come forth, and it can be very dangerous for them. It's very self-destructive. And that's really what this story is about.
And you've already had several different meetings with a lot of the fans who have, gotten signed copies of the books. And have any of them who've officially read the book, what are their thoughts? What have they said to you so far? I am so lucky. I have some of the most loyal, amazing, beautiful readers I could ever wish for. And literally the day that it came out, I was getting messages from people who binge read it, as the moment that they got it. And I got so many heartfelt, beautiful messages from them. I have read a few reviews that people felt that maybe the story didn't focus on Ursula as much as maybe some of the other tertiary characters. But, I took a risk with this book, and I decided to make it an ongoing series rather than a series of standalone books. And because Disney and I haven't officially announced what the new plans are for the line, people don't quite get that they're probably going to get more of Ursula's story in future installments. Mm-hmm. But because that's not how we've done it in the past, they're feeling like this is what they're
what they're left with. So I don't blame them for feeling maybe a little bit cheated. But I felt like after I wrote The Beast Within, when I started The Beast Within and I realized that this was going to be an ongoing series, I thought that it would be cool to bring some of the characters from Ferris Duval along with me. And then I felt like, I definitely wanted to do that. I wanted to bring more of the characters from both stories into Ursula's story. So we're talking with Disney about doing like the books in trilogies so that we can devote more time to each villain and the side characters that I've created as well. So I wish that I could expand more on that, but we haven't sorted all the details out yet.
I've read on your website, which I want to mention for listeners, is serenavalentino.com. You can get in touch with Serena if you have any questions that I don't ask during this interview. I can't get to everything because I don't want to spoil anything too. But, I read on your website, you have other Disney villains in mind. And I'm a big fan of the post-Disney Renaissance. So I love like Atlantis and Treasure Planet and Emperor's New Groove. Are you interested, or is Disney interested in delving into more of the stories of some Disney villains that maybe aren't the most famous or well known?
Well, I tend to gravitate towards like the classic fairy tale villains personally. And I happen to have like, I'd say the next 6 books planned. So to answer your question, not anytime in the future. I mean, I don't want to emphatically say, no, I'm never going to do it, because I really don't know what's going to happen. But we have a villain picked for the next book. And everyone always asks, well, who's on your list? Who's on your list of people that you want to do? And right now, like the top people that for the future that I would like to write about are Maleficent and Cinderella's step family. And I think as a book of its own, not a part of the villain series, though it would be a villain book, I want to do one about Cruella de Vil. But I don't see her in the current universe that I've created. It would probably be like, it'd be her own book. It would be like if she wrote the book herself.
I would always think that in the back of my mind, that Disney might keep the option open to a possible TV show or a movie or, short mini series based on one of your books. Would you be interested if that proposal came to the table at some point?
Oh, well, I mean, it would entirely be up to them, because I'm writing these for them. So if they decided they wanted to do that, I mean, I would be thrilled. I would hope that they would decide to have me on board to be a part of the process. I mean, that would be a great honor. I'd love to be able to do that. But I mean, they haven't mentioned anything about it so far, but
let's keep our fingers crossed.
Right. And the Ursula book seems to be doing even better than the previous books had. So maybe with this success, they might think about it. I don't know.
I really hope so. And I want to mention, I'm going to put in the show notes below the link to go ahead and buy your own copy of the book of Poor Unfortunate Soul, because of course we want to support you, Serena, and I can't wait to get my hands on one of the books myself. And before we end, I want to ask 3 Disney themed questions that I ask all of my guests. We'll start with our Donald one, which is, as a child, what Disney film was one of your favorites to see in the movie theater?
Oh, the first Disney movie I remember seeing in the movie theater, well, it was like such a visceral experience, was Bambi. And because I was really little, and my dad is a hunter. So it was sort of a debacle, because I'm sitting there watching Bambi, and Bambi's mom gets shot, and I just looked to my dad and I was like, Dad, is that what you do? He was like, no. But I ended up not talking to him for like 2 weeks after seeing it, because I was so angry. I was convinced that he killed Bambi's mom.
And our goofy question, what Disney character, besides the ones you've written about, do you think would be your best friend if you met them in person?
Good gravy. That is a huge pantheon of characters to choose from. You're making me probably Maleficent, I think. I think she would. I think Maleficent would be my best friend.
And our Mickey question, if I asked you to name any Disney song at this very moment, what immediately comes to mind?
The first song that comes to mind is, it's always something from Beauty and the Beast. And I can't believe I can't remember the title of it right now. It's in the opening sequence of when the town is singing about Belle, and Belle is singing about her life. I often just sing that song like around my house, or like when I'm doing dishes or even taking a shower. It's like one of my favorite songs ever. I love the music from Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid, like so much. Like I'm a complete like theater nerd, and I went to I did musical theater like growing up. So
I cannot thank you enough for coming on the show, Serena, and I can't wait to read the book finally, after waiting, and best of luck with the next coming books. So thank you so much for these wonderful stories. They're a lot of fun to read.
Thank you so much, and it's my pleasure speaking with you today, and I hope you enjoy Poor Unfortunate Soul, and send me a message. Let me know what you thought.
Got to pay the toll. Take a gulp and take a breath and go ahead and sign the scroll. Flotsam jetsam, now I've got her, boys. The boss is on a roll. This poor,